Does anyone here, by show of hands, have someone in a public school, whether it's a grandchild, a friend's child, a neighbor? Yeah, almost everyone has somebody that they know or have some sort of relationship with in a public school, possibly. So I'm going to share my screen and quickly go over what did I do to get the amount of funding that I did, and you can do it with books. So Donors Choose is the main organization that I used, donorschoose.org. Um, right there. And basically, what they do, not basically, as Judge Judy would say, they try to match public schools that need funding with people who are philanthropic who want to donate. And they could be from all over the United States. I remember getting donations from Hawaii, and I'm in New York. So, one of the things that you're going to do is reach out to those contacts that you have that are teachers, teacher friends, and say, hey, I'd like to get my book into your school. And then when they say, oh, I don't have funding for that, or budget is low this year, which most will say, you're going to ask them, have you ever written a Donors Choose grant? And they'll say, what? And that's when you introduce them to it. So I'm going to introduce you guys to it.
What is it called again?
It's donorschoose.org. My whole idea being that there's so many authors, and since I'm on the book and author platform, was to pair the two. So I'm gonna circle back to that. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about what I did, and then at the end, just reach out. Um, I used other, you can actually look up tons and tons of organizations that are willing to basically throw money at projects that they feel are well worth the effort. So for Donors Choose alone, I didn't realize until I had to present to Jay and Yobi from Book and Author that I had over 50 projects funded after this time period. And basically, when you look at the Donors Choose site, I'll let you look at it for a second so you can see. That's not it. Okay. You're going to go to the Donors Choose page. And this is what the forward-facing page is for somebody who's just looking, let's say, for a Christmas present, they want to just give back to public schools. And they're going to do a search. Either they're going to search for an area, a district, a zone, a part of the country, or they're going to look for a specific type of program. Maybe they're looking for SEL, maybe they're looking for calm down strategies in the classroom, and they just want to fund it, or maybe they like science or math. So they'll type in their search term. So what you want to get that person who's your contact to do is to directly correlate those search terms with your kind of book. So if yours is resilience, friendship, Francine, what would you say your search terms would be?
Absolutely confidence.
Confidence. So let's say somebody is looking for confidence for the classroom because they feel like kids need that. So there, it shows you this meant I don't know why it's doing this. My thing is lagging here. But as you can see on the side, they have all different categories. And people who are willing to donate are looking for those search terms that will tie into your book. So my concept and what helped me, I'm going to go back to my slideshow for a minute while that figures itself out. Um, I would write grants and word them in such a way that it caught the attention of donors. So one of them was a robotics one. One that I redid several times was paleontology. So if I looked at my account now, let's see if it'll do it. So here's my account and here's my projects. So this is when I was on the teacher end. So they let me keep it up there. I'm not allowed to use it anymore because I'm a retired teacher, but I can refer people. So so we did a lot of social emotional stuff. We did financial, we did equity. um, specific to different challenges and things in the classroom. When we were remote, we created a flat teacher project and they took me around everywhere because there was one way to get me and them out of the house. Let's see. If I wanted to do,
Does this organization fund books?
yeah, so that's the whole point of this. So they will fund for public schools books, trips, and you can, if you go on the site itself and just read the blurb, it'll tell you everything it funds.
Oh,
So I was able to get class trips. I was able to get class speakers. I was able to get tons of books. We started entire units. Let's say I'm going to do this, Give Us Wings. So you need a catchy title. So whoever you work with, if you have a teacher willing to do this, but they're not sure about the writing part, 5 minutes, they upload a profile picture, a picture of the classroom, not with the kids in it. Um, a little blurb about themselves and their class without giving away specifics. And after they have the descriptor, they can write out, there's like 4 or 5 paragraphs they have to write. So this is where often they hit a roadblock because a lot of people don't feel confident writing in essay form. I did, so I did. Um, they give you shopping carts to choose from. So for this project, I needed objects that were more in the scientific realm, so I browsed through their science catalogs online, dropped them in their little shopping cart, and when it got funded, everything got funded. So that includes books. So if I instead of a bingo game, if I had put a book in there, that would get funded. Basically, you want to know what would the teacher want your visit to be like? What is it for? So let's say if they want your book for social emotional learning, now called life skills, because otherwise it doesn't get funded. Um, that's a whole other realm. When you want them to write it up, you're going to give them little teasers about your book and maybe work with them if they're willing to. A lot of them are doing test prep. They do not have time to sit down and do this. So some people in last week's meeting said, well, what if we help them? So I would actually do this for other teachers as well, for, stepping up ceremonies, for aquarium trips. They didn't know how to do that, have pets in the classroom. So I would do it for them. But that's something that if you play around with it and you're comfortable writing it, um, they have to be a public school employee. Now, here's the caveat. A lot of districts will still say, as one told me who was willing to do it, um, first they have to, in any of the process of this, they have to submit 2 grants and get successfully funded. Once they get successfully funded, whether it's for puzzles or chalk or whatever it is that they get, they can then request an author because that's something that's considered a special, like a special feature. It's not something that you can order from a catalog. So I'm gonna skip past this because that's more for. So this just shows you how they would categorize items that they can purchase, but we don't fit into those categories for the most part, right? So at one point they weren't allowing in-person visits and it was remote visits only because of COVID. But if they visit my page and they pull up my items, they can type in that ISBN number, the pricing into the donors choose, and then that would get funded. Just like they could take Francine's book or anyone's book and say, this is how many copies I want for this grant. I want every child in my class to have a copy. I want the author to come in and so forth. So this is where they create a special request. So when they go through all the different categories, oh, I can't order from Amazon for this. Maybe you don't publish on there, like I don't, not yet. Um, they would just type it in from your own site. So in this case, this is my site. Let's see. And then they get an email confirmation. They may have follow-up questions like, how many units is this? Is it taxable? All these other questions. But this is what it would look like for me. It would actually just, they would fill out the first book's title if they wanted it, how many units, and the pricing. And this is just for the books. I haven't put the author visit in. This was just a sample. And then, sorry to call them back. So one of the things that they do is after they're done, they ring up the entire project and they check out. And then if this is their amount that they're asking for, if they get fully funded, they get everything in that cart. Sorry. So this is where they get stuck. And this is where you would sit down with the educator if they have time and go over how to phrase things, what do they get, that sort of thing. And so this is an example of, let's see if it's still posted up there. I haven't looked in a while. So this is one of the projects, similar to the other one. And there's a lot, I mean, if they get you successfully for one visit, they could do another visit. So here's books. I wanted book sets for my classroom because we weren't given any. We were given a wish list, and usually our wishes were not granted. So, so in order to get that done, I put in what I felt my kids needed. And then I added little things that I wanted. I wanted paint sets to attach to the activities that I wanted to do with those books. So if your book lends itself to a construction activity, to an art activity, to a music activity, you're just gonna you're going to suggest to them, you can tag that on. In general, the lower the asking price of the items, like if you keep it to like $600, the more of a chance that it'll get funded. Let's see. I'm gonna go back now. Yeah, because sometimes someone will look at it and they're like, oh, they're asking for $1,200. I mean, they can't ask for a bread maker, they can't ask for a microwave, but they can ask for books and materials and an author visit. Okay. At the end, this is the part some teachers are not fond of. They have to fill out a response sheet, and it will be just a quick little thing online. How did what you got through this grant fulfill your needs and the children's needs? And can you send some photos of the kids? And they have to take photos, like six of them. It's not a big deal, but everybody's schedule is different, um, and little thank you notes. Now, if they're little babies, if they're pre-K and kindergarten, handprints with the scroll thank you or whatever else, using the materials and a photo, they love that because they send those actually to the donors. And how I know is parents that I had years ago still had some of the thank you cards that children in the class sent them. And they would post them up and say, look, I gave and they would fund everything, like trips and everything. So there's no reason that they can't fund you. It's just a matter of making that connection. And I'll stop my share because.
A question. So we all have our books, right? And we have a retail price.
Mhm.
So if we were going to do something like this, I would assume that we would maybe go with a wholesale price or something, or
You
what?
can, you can. It's
You
more,
don't have to. You don't have to, though.
you don't have to. I mean, what I showed you was my retail price. The books that I bought on Amazon through the grant, for National Geographic, for dinosaur discovery, all those paleontology things I did, those were full price.
Oh,
So it's
okay.
a matter of, does someone want to fund the classroom? Usually the class mom or the PTA will get on board and say, okay, let's email this, let's blast this all over social media. It's a little bit easier now than back in the day when you had to rely on people to just read their emails and whatever fell into the bottom of their child's backpack. So, and you found it in June, you gave it to them in September. So, I think that there's a lot of promise with it, and I've had a lot of success with it. And what's great is the kids benefit, and in this case, we would benefit, and also the teachers shine with that, and then they're more willing to do it again. because they're looking at it as the administrator says, wow, you got that author to come in and did that wonderful activity with the kids. We need more of that. But again, a lot are constrained. I think I said at the beginning or last week, some districts and some counties will say if you ask for any kind of donations over $250, let's say, it has to go before a review board. So if that's your price for visiting a classroom, they may be able to do that as one grant and then do another grant just for your books, and they can break it up.
My dream is to go and be able to give every kid a book. And I was just thinking this yesterday, and here you
Mhm.
are.
I
Awesome.
learned I actually learned from a fellow teacher. She was an art teacher and she never had any supplies. She ended up being, we called her like the grant queen because she had like 50 grants going in the first year that I was there. She brought in materials to the school. She made sure every kid had an opportunity. They never had to ask for crayons or, look longingly at somebody else's paint set. She had stuff for everybody. Um, so yeah, when I taught in an inner city school for a number of years, I had to do that because you weren't getting even pencils at one point. And then afterwards, I moved on to another school, and they're like, it was the total opposite. And they're like, how can we help? And they're standing there with their checkbooks. So I was like, wait, there's a great divide here. So one of the things I was able to do was to have those parents help out the other schools
Oh,
because
wow.
if they have and they're willing to support, and for them it's a tax write-off, and they feel like they contributed. So I would have them sponsor other classes, and you can do that. You can actually work with the teachers in different schools and across districts, and there's no the only constraints is if their administrator is a control freak and basically says, well, I have to see everything that comes into your classroom, and why do we need this stuff? And what is this stuff for? And it's staying here, right? Even though they don't know what it is or how to use it, they'll say, this stuff has to stay here. So some of the teachers are a little reluctant because they run into problems like that. And other ones, they just need help with the writing part. So if you sit down with them and say, this is my mission statement as an author, these are the things I want kids to learn. Does that align with part of your curriculum? And 99.9% of the time it does. So, if you
How do
can,
you find out like the terminology, like you said, social skills, it's actually life skills, like knowing the right words to be using.
oh, you just unfortunately listen to the news. There's so many things going on in terms of, all different sectors, and writing is not immune from it. So if you're looking to sell to certain schools in certain states or certain cities, unfortunately, you have to phrase it in a way that, they'll say, oh, okay, we like that term. We think kids should learn how to be kind when there was nothing wrong with social emotional learning either.
Right, right.
Mark your,
Well, I guess it's just breaking it down, you know what I mean,
yeah,
a little bit more,
yeah.
right? Yeah. Wow.
Uh,
So did you say the teacher has to go in and set up an account and get like a
yeah,
puzzle or
yeah.
something like off
Eh,
of there?
Yeah, they have to basically get funded successfully for two small projects. So
Too
it could
small.
be $100, that's like a set of puzzles for their class. It could be ABC books for kindergarten. And then what ends up happening is they reach that you accumulate points as a teacher. So once you accumulate those points, you can then have special guests, and then that would be us.
Ah, that would be us.
That would be us.
Okay.
And our books and any other little accessories. And if you have a plush, Friends plush could be added to that. You could figure out a way for every class to get a class plush friend. Or, depending on how generous the area is, maybe they'll sponsor one for every child in a classroom, which is really cool.
So if you're applying for this money through this organization, does the money typically come from the area where you're looking to
No,
spend? Oh, okay.
no. No, yeah, just like when you go into the, if you just play around with it as a viewer, um, like the Donut Shoes has been around for a while. Let's see if I can switch over. But another thing that comes up is you can go and see if there's a matching code. Let me see if I can get in there. So if you go to Donors Choose, just somebody's checking it out, it's probably going to log me in. Yeah, it logged me in. But there are matching codes. And so let's say yours has to do with computer literacy or, whatever terms are associated with yours. There's going to be, let's see, within the main, I'm not going to see it from here because I'm logged in. Within the main catalog, it's going to say, yeah, you can just click on About Us and read all about it. Their focus, they've worked with Oprah, they've worked with Bill Gates, they've gotten funded. They generally fund everything just before back to school, and they fund everything for a lot of areas around the holidays. But that's not to say that they don't have like Giving Back Tuesday or whatever they want to call it. Um, they they will look for a specific theme and they'll look to see which grants cross over those themes and they'll try to just go across the board and finish them in terms of funding. I think the fastest I ever got funded was 2 days. Sometimes it takes weeks. Um, it depends on how much it's promoted. Again, it's all about how they're getting the word out there to people. And some teachers feel, I did a workshop on this, and one teacher said to me, "Do you mean I have to ask people for money?" And I said, "Well, if you're the classroom teacher and you want these for your kids and you're not taking out $1,000 from your purse, you're going to ask them and explain to them that it's not for you, it's for the kids. And
But
it's all,
that's just on the platform though. That's not them in their social media asking for money, is it?
yes, you can. You're going
Oh,
to
it
take,
is.
they actually have a little link that logs in for your Facebook account, and you can actually have them link it to their personal teacher account. That was the one person that had the issue with it. No one else ever had an issue with it. They were like, oh, so this is how people can find out about it. And I said, exactly. Because if they don't know about it, they're not going to fund it. Not saying that you're not going to find people around the country. Like I had the person from Hawaii, someone in Alaska, and they said, oh, you're doing dinosaurs? I like dinosaurs. I had a cousin in New York. Let me fund this. And it has nothing to do with them. They'll never benefit on their own from it. They don't have kids in that state, but they want to support. So it's just linking people together.
So what if the teacher doesn't want to promote it on social media? Do you have to do that?
Another way you can do it, and some of them have an issue with this as well, where I'm just telling you ahead of time. Um, if they have to print out the flyer, because they give you a printable flyer that you can include as a teacher in their homework and say, hi, we're raising funds to go apple picking. We want to go up to Congress, New York, and we want to spend a day learning about apple orchards. And it ties into our unit. Can you any amount that you can give is wonderful, and you will have people who will give whatever they can, and there are other people that will say, oh, I see you haven't finished the money off on the buses to get there. How much do you need? And they'll finish it. So, and they'll communicate with you. They'll say, oh, great job. I think this is a great thing that you're doing. So it
Is
depends.
is there some kind of a thing like with GoFundMe where you see the tally of the amount of money you've gotten in or anything like that, or no?
Yes.
Oh, there
Yes.
is.
It will show. Yeah. What do they call a progress meter? Yes. They can see, and they can see how much is needed and where it's going. Yep. They can see all that.
Okay.
Now, if it doesn't get funded, it can get archived. So, it depends on how much is promoted. And after 57 of them got funded, I looked back and said I didn't realize it was that many. Because for me, it was like second nature. Okay, we need this. We don't have it. Nobody's going to buy it for us. as teachers, we don't have that kind of money. So I just wrote it, and that was that. And then I would do a workshop, and some of the teachers would come and say, "How do you do this?" And maybe one would follow through. So just expect a lot of this seems like work, even though if you went in and did it on your own, it's really not that much. It's just a matter of them feeling confident enough to do it. Preeti
So does the
said
donorschoose.org, does that give a platform or of some
that's a platform.
sense, right, but some sense of um validity to
Yeah.
the fact that you're asking for money?
Oh,
Like
definitely.
it's,
Definitely.
yeah,
I mean, it's very well known.
okay.
Um,
I've never heard of it, so I just, yeah.
yeah, in the field of education, it's the way to go. I mean,
Helen, if you were the recipient of the
Mhm,
grant, could
mhm.
you also have your book as one of the items in the grant?
Oh,
Or
yes,
or
definitely.
okay, so you get to
Um, oh, you mean like if you're the teacher and you write the grant?
yeah, if you're the teacher and you're writing a grant to get your
So,
book for your
so,
class.
so I don't know how it works in other states, but that's a conflict of interest. In
Yeah,
fact, yeah,
definitely. That's what I
yeah.
wanted.
So I in New York wasn't able to do that. You couldn't even go in to do an author visit for a year after you retire in New York, and in Texas as well, and other states,
Helen,
because they see it as a conflict.
we
So
have a
Justine
question.
could talk to other teachers and help them create this if she wanted to do this and say, hey, you can get this for your class.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. That's the workaround. I was gonna call it the workaround.
There is a question in the chat. Is this valid in Canada also?
That is a very good question. I know Donors Choose is a United States-based organization for public schools. I don't know about international capabilities. I think it's just the US, but
No,
that's something that
on the website, it doesn't have any Canadian ones that locations that I can pick from. So my question is, do you know of something similar in Canada?
that I do not know, but I'm sure like there will probably be some. If you just do a general search, I remember coming up with s- gads of them. Just going funding for public schools, funding for science, funding for elementary education. However, you play around with the wording and you just put in Canada, you will most likely come.
Is there ever heard of authors? Sorry, I'm losing my voice. Of authors getting a grant to purchase a bunch of their books to give to schools if they can show where they're going and how many are going there.
Let me clarify the question. So you were asking if an author can write the grant?
Yeah.
No. It has
Okay.
to be because it's set up for schools and only public schools. There are other ones that are for private. Yeah, that would definitely be a conflict.
They're basically funding it themselves.
Exactly.
So it's
There,
not like getting out into some big database of people with money that could fund stuff.
right.
Oh,
Although because Donors Choose is such a huge platform, like I said, you're going to get donors from all around the country who have no correlation to the classroom at all.
right, but how would someone who is just in the system find out that a teacher in New Bedford's looking for money to
Oh,
buy?
you remember the first search that I did, and we just type in confidence, and it didn't work because the Wi-Fi, I guess. But it basically pulls up all different programs that people want in the classrooms to be funded that have that idea of confidence in them, and that's
So
how they.
someone that's part of the organization, that might get flagged to them and they might say, oh, I want to fund that for that teacher. I
That
see.
and there's also that would be the matching funds. But even somebody just, oh, I really haven't seen anything about funding kids with dyslexia. I'm going to type in dyslexia, and they will get a slew of schools around the country that are looking for those projects, and they're individuals, they're not companies, and they want to fund them.
Ah,
I'm going to have to hop off. Thank you
okay.
guys. Have a great weekend.
Thank you,
And-
Helen.
Thank you, Helen.
Happy
Thank
holidays.
you. Wow, that's really cool.
Hope it was helpful.
Thank you.
Reach out if you need help.